In our view, the underpinnings of geopolitics have splintered so much in the past year that the foundations of global order appear alarmingly weak. Multiple strategic earthquakes have created a situation in which world leaders are in a constant state of crisis control. The institutions that have been created to contain crises are being bypassed or have shown themselves incapable, with the result that conflict management has become renationalized. It may be that a renationalization of politics comforts domestic opinion. It does, however, put into reverse efforts of the last half-century to channel political disputes and differences through institutional arrangements. China continued in 2016 to mark its strategic arrival on the world stage with a more persistent and assertive foreign policy. By one estimate, China reclaimed at least 17 times more land in the South China Sea than all other claimant states combined. It continued to insist that territorial disputes be solved bilaterally and not by institutions. China is not quite yet seeking to build an alternative world order, but it is backing its own institutions, widening its geopolitical ambitions beyond Asia, and engaging in a firmer diplomacy of command, by which it seeks to insist with ever greater firmness that its views be fully taken into account. Russia in the last year has continued on the more assertive and confrontational path that it took with the annexation of Crimea. Policy decisions taken in 2016 will ensure that the mutual remilitarization of the NATO-Russia frontier in northeastern Europe continues unabated. While 2016 saw initial attempts to negotiate mechanisms for managing risks associated with all this very close contact, it remains unclear whether Moscow is prepared to back down from its brinkmanship, which came in response to NATO's increased presence along its borders, unless that increase is somehow limited or reversed. If recently the future of Europe was being discussed in the context of a resurgent nationalist Russia and the Greek debt crisis, the UK vote to leave the EU in the 23 June referendum portends the biggest change in European politics for a generation. Stripping the emotion out of the divorce talks will be no easy task. While much of the negotiations will be highly technical, the strategic implications will need to be kept in constant view. We are gone, and good riddance will preferably not be enduring negotiating postures. The aim must be to develop a new economic and political partnership. As the established structures of Europe are being shaken, the Middle East continues to prosecute its multiple civil wars while coping with a changed economic and fiscal environment. Robust U.S. intervention in the Middle East various conflicts remains unlikely. The temptations for military engagement other than in a supportive role are likely to be resisted. The power of the U.S. has declined, but it remains the geopolitical swing player, in the sense that if it chooses to act decisively, it can still make a difference, but if it chooses to abstain, its absence from a conflict or a diplomatic engagement will also be felt deeply. Making judgments on foreign policy trends in the West in the current environment is hugely contingent. Electoral politics in the West have an insurgent quality to them. The domestic license for expansive, open, engaged international relations is limited and appears difficult to renew. The politics of protectionism are on the rise. The scope for strategic thinking and action is shrinking. A sense of strategic malaise is pervasive. The message that globalization has not been good for everyone and that there is an unacceptable gap between ruling elites and the people they govern is clear. Political and business authority needs to reconnect with people. Once greater confidence is achieved on the home front, perhaps a new effort at intergovernmental institution building can take place. One must hope that there is not much delay in renewing that effort, as a world that doubts its regional and global institutions is a world in drift.